Hey, what's going on, Chad here? It's now 3 o'clock. The NBA playoffs will continue tonight with a pair of game twos. At 4, the Pistons host the Cavs. Detroit favored by 3. And the Pistons with a 1-0 series lead at 6:30. Lakers are going to beat the Thunder in Oklahoma City. OKC favored in Philly. Spurs and Wolves from Minneapolis. Whereas Bolton Sixers will be in Philly. Spurs and Wolves from Minneapolis. Whereas both those series move on to game number 3. Coming up on the Rip City Drive today, we're going to talk about the Trailblazers coaching search. We'll be joined by Sean Highkin, our Trailblazer Insider, at 3:20. And then Brian O from Fox Sports Radio will join me at 4:20. And we'll focus in on the NBA playoffs and get his recap on the NFL draft. From the Major League scoreboard right now, top of the ninth in Colorado, Rockies on top of the Mets 6-2. Top of the ninth in Arizona, Pirates 4, Diamondbacks 2.
Single Care crushes the cost of my prescription, almost as much as I'm crushing Chad.
Unbelievable. See why more people are saving with Single Care. Common side effects include shockingly lower prices, excessive fist bumps, and humbling guys named Chad.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's the Rip City Drive with Chad Doing. Coors Light, cold as the Rockies. Please drink responsibly.
At the foul line, now he retreats to midcourt, and the Sixers will not foul. The Knicks took Philly's strongest punch here in Game 2, but Jalen Brunson, one of the best clutch players in NBA history, he had more in the tank down the stretch. And with a 108-102 victory, the Knicks have taken Game 2 and a 2-0 lead in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Victor, he'll pull up 5 feet behind the line. Wee-wee! Victor Wembanyama's first 3 in the series, and the Spurs by 17. Wembanyama, left wing 3. Wee-wee rattles that one home. 17 for Victor, 93-58. 10 threes on the night here for San Antonio. You can turn out the lights in the gym here tonight. Spurs are headed home with a W. 133-95 the final. It is the 3rd largest playoff win in Spurs franchise history, and tonight their 410th playoff game.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, what's going on? Rip City Drive, Chad Doing with you on this come out, and it's very nice outside. I was on the golf course this morning. Come out, and it's very nice outside. I was on the golf course this morning. It was a little cooler at around 6 a.m., but as the day progressed, it got nicer and nicer. So very happy to be here. My body is sore. I'm transitioning into a golf season out of the Trailblazer season. So between workouts and getting my body used to walking around a golf course multiple times a week, it's a bit of an adjustment, but very happy to be here. And I had a chance to swing by Golf Tech last night and speak with my golf coach, Nick, and he supplied me with my new Mizuno irons, which I was able to use this morning, so I enjoyed that process. Had a chance to meet a couple of new people, so it's really good. I wouldn't say lost, but one of my really good golfing buddies, I'm not going to be with him, 4 or 5 times a week now. And that's because he's gotten a membership out in Washougal at Orchard Hills. His wife is dealing with some illness, and so he needs to be closer to home, and he lives in Washougal. So he can hit Orchard Hills, play in 2.5 hours because it's not very busy there in terms of, in comparison to some of the other courses, and he can get home real quick. So I only get to golf with him maybe once or twice a week now. So I'm transitioning, but I met some new guys today, which is really cool. I played with a youngster who is a freshman at Boise State, and he was with his grandpa, and I thought that was pretty cool. A couple of nice guys, and it made me wish that I still have my grandpa because they were having a good time out there on the course together. So I'm very happy to be here. A lot of different things I want to talk about today. We were talking about the coaching search for the Trailblazers yesterday. Sean Highkin had put together a report at rosegardenreport.com. I just reached out to him and said, hey, will you come on today so we can get an update on the coaching search? And we'll do a deep dive with Heiken coming up here in 15 minutes at 3:20. I want to know some of the potential names. I want to know what he thought about Cronin's comments at the exit interviews in regard to the coaching search and really what the Trailblazers are looking for. So Sean Heiken's going to join us at 3:20. And then at 4:20, he joins us pretty much every week. But Brian Noe from Fox Sports Radio will come on the show. And I want to get his take on the NBA playoffs. And we'll find out how he's doing with his wagers. And then also we'll do a recap on the NFL draft. Brian Noe follows the NFL as closely as anybody I know. I know he's a big fan of the draft, but I want to get his take on the draft and some of the storylines coming out of that as we now near the schedule drop, which is coming next week. And then before you know it, we've got training camp right around the corner. So it's all coming very quickly. Football season, it's very sad when it ends, but once you get past, March, everything starts to heat up because you get free agency, then you get the draft, then you get the schedule drop, and before you know it, you're right back in camp. So I like that. I like the fact that we don't have to wait too long to get back to football. I love the NFL. I love college football. I frankly can't get enough football in my life, and I want more of it. So Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join us coming up at 4:20, and we'll do a deep dive on the Trailblazers coaching search coming up at 3:20. And pretty much everyone I run into in town, they want to talk about the Trailblazers. The big story, of course, Tiago Splitter. They want to know what the Blazers are going to do with their head coach, who they're going to hire. And then, of course, the other big question is, are the Blazers going to go big game hunting? And the consensus based on my poll, based on the people I've talked to and the questions I've gotten, I have not heard from anyone that has an issue with going after Giannis if he's available. If he's available and you can make a play on Giannis, everyone seems to think that's a very legitimate idea. I honestly don't have an issue with it myself. Giannis is awesome. And if you can add a guy like that who is a big-time difference maker and a franchise cornerstone and a big body and a great defender and someone that could provide some resistance to Wembanyama, then I'm all for it. So there you have it. Sean Heiken coming up here in about 13 minutes. The games last night, Philadelphia I thought they had a gutsy performance without Joel Embiid, but it just looked to me like they ran out of gas about midway through the fourth. I think they put up 12 points in the quarter, and the Knicks get the win, and they now jump out to a 2-0 lead in that series with Game 3 coming up in Philadelphia tomorrow. And this is where the fatigue in the postseason starts to become a real thing, and that's because you get the games, once you get past that first round, the games are every other day. And it comes fast. And I thought the Sixers just ran out of gas. I thought they played really well. But credit to the Knicks, man. They're on fire right now. They're in a zone. They're well connected on both ends, and they look really good. And Jalen Brunson is a big-time shot maker. So big fan of what the Knicks are doing right now, and we'll see what they do going back to Philly. But the Sixers, they're in trouble. They have issues matching up. They're getting their defense rotated. The Knicks are on fire on offense. They're doing a great job with the rebounding. The Sixers are going to have to do a lot of work to scratch their way back into the series. But as they say, until a road team gets a win, the series hasn't really begun yet because Philadelphia could easily even up the series. And before you know it, we get an all-important Game 5 back at Madison Square Garden. But the issue when you have a situation like this with the Sixers and you've got Joel Embiid, who's such a dominant force, how do you prepare a game plan when you don't know what his availability is going to be? And how do you proceed going into Game 3 when you don't know if he's going to be available? Do you have two separate plans? You remember we talked about this with Michael Holton when the Blazers were taking on the Spurs. And we didn't know if Wemby was going to be available for Game 3. He might play in Game 4. The Blazers didn't really know. And it is tough because you have to basically prepare two different plans. Two different plans of attack based on who or who may not be available. And that's not ideal. That's not something that you want. So there you have it. Now, the other series tomorrow is going to be awesome, too. Spurs got the big win last night over the Timberwolves to even up their series at 1 game apiece. Now they go back to Minneapolis. And I love Minnesota right now. I enjoy watching them play. I like the way they compete. I like the way they get after it defensively. I like the way that they talk junk. It tempers Flair just a little bit there in that fourth quarter last night. Not surprised San Antonio won. They basically had to. You don't want to go down 2-0 as you get ready to take off on the road. But for me, the big question mark with Minnesota will be scoring. Can they get enough shot making in their offense against that Spurs defense to be able to keep the pressure on? And it's going to be important for Minnesota to come out and set a tone early. But the one thing that will be a problem in the series, and we know this just based on what they did to Denver, so far through 2 games, Minnesota has been the aggressor, the more physical basketball team, and they are not afraid. And that's one thing I respect about them. They are fearless in their attack and the way they approach the game and what they want to do, and they make you feel them. And so I really like just their mindset, their toughness. They remind me of an old school team from like the late 80s, early 90s. And they'll tell you about it when they're kicking your butt. So big fan of what Minnesota's doing right now. It's just a matter of shot making. Can they get enough offense and shot making to be able to compete with the Spurs as they go back to Minnesota? Now, tonight we have 2 games, and these are the games that I'm not as excited about. Cleveland and Detroit coming up here at the top of the hour, 4 o'clock. That is a game number 2. Detroit won game 1 by 10, and now they're going to look to take a 2-0 lead before they head back to Cleveland. The Cavs, so far this year in the postseason, have not won a road playoff game. They lost all 3 to Toronto. They lost the first game in Detroit a couple of nights ago. So can they bounce back? Can they get a win? Can they even up this series? And for Detroit, tough matchup with Orlando, but they were very effective. I like the combination in game 1 of Tobias Harris and Cade Cunningham. And the big question for Detroit is going to be very simple for them. In this series against Cleveland, and if they advance against what would appear to be the Knicks right now based on how they're playing, can they get enough shot making and creation in their half-court sets if Cade Cunningham is having an off night? Who else is going to step up? Is it Tobias Harris? Can he be consistent in that role? Is it somebody else? That's going to continue to be an issue. And I like what the Sixers did last night, though. They pushed the pace. They tried to play up tempo. They tried to push the pace. They knew that was one way that they could be effective without Embiid on the floor. And I thought they just got tired in that fourth quarter. And then the other series tonight after Detroit and Cleveland will be the Lakers and Thunder. Not a compelling series because one team is clearly superior to the other. The Thunder are the best team in the NBA, in my opinion. They're the defending champs. They defend extremely well. They've got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They shoot the ball well. And I think what's most impressive in terms of what that roster, how it's composed, they don't have a weak link on defense. They have multiple defenders who can, defend multiple spots on the floor. And the Lakers just don't have enough because they're without Luka. And LeBron and the Lakers just don't have enough because they're without Luka. And LeBron had moments in game number 1 where he was very effective. And Rui Hachimura was effective. But outside of those 2, the rest of the team shot 29%. I think the Lakers, again, tonight will have issues on offense. And I would look for the Thunder to get the win. And they'll end this series in 4 or 5 games. All right, 503-248-0620. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. Coming up next, we're going to talk to our Trailblazer insider, Sean Highkin of Rose Garden Report. We'll get the details on what he's uncovered with the Trailblazers coaching search. Right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, here's our Trailblazer insider from Rose Garden Report, and he provides the best local coverage of your Portland Trailblazers. Also the host of the Trailblazers Insider Show here on Rip City Radio 620. Sean Highkin is back. And, Sean, I appreciate you taking time to join me. You keep putting out great content at rosegardenreport.com, so I wanted to talk with you about it. You did a deep dive on the coaching search, and I guess for you, what's the most interesting thing that you uncovered in regard to the search as the Blazers try to figure out who's going to be their head coach full-time?
Well, there just isn't really a whole lot of clarity at this point, Chad, about, how extensive the list is going to be. You know, Joe Cronin said at exit interviews that he wants to cast a wide net. I've heard, it's as many as 20 or 30 different people that they're talking to or that they want to talk to. And there's really also not a lot of clarity on what exactly the archetype is that they're looking for. Like there's no, they haven't really said anything definitive about like we want somebody with experience, we want somebody with this offensive philosophy, this defensive philosophy, whatever the case may be. So it's really just kind of up in the air right now, just across the board.
Very interesting. What did you make of Joe Cronin's comments in regard to the coaching search, that it would be a wide net during the exit interview?
Well, I mean, if you're going to do a coaching search, it's not really uncommon to open it up to a lot of different candidates. I mean, that's just kind of how these things go. If you don't really have a specific idea of what you want, then you talk to as many people as you can, and see what's out there, see who impresses you in the interview process. So that seems pretty standard to me.
Yeah, that is a pretty standard process. Now, I like the idea of a wide net if you're going to talk to a variety of different candidates, because I like the idea for two reasons, Sean. One, if you go out and talk to a lot of different coaches, you'll be able to gain intel on your team, your coaches, your players. You'll get other people's thoughts on what you have to offer and what your team looks like. But then also, if you go through and you talk to multiple candidates who are all qualified and you come back to the determination that Tiago Splitter is our guy, I think you strengthen his position as the head coach of the Trailblazers too. So I like the idea of a wide net. What do you think about a wide net for a search based on the season Tiago had?
Well, it depends on how wide of a net you're casting and what some of the criteria is about, what you're looking at. If you're casting a wide net in terms of, we're going to be talking to a lot of experienced coaches, we're going to be talking to people from a lot of different backgrounds, and that's that's what you're doing, then that's fine. If you're casting a wide net that's just how many, end of bench assistants do we have to call to get somebody who's willing to take the salary that we want to pay, then I don't know. I don't know if that's necessarily as beneficial, but we'll see how it all plays out in the end when it comes down to like who they actually hire.
Well, I guess for me, Sean, here's what I want. I just want the Blazers to locate the best possible coach for their team. So if they find someone not named Tiago Splitter that they truly believe is the best coach, then hire that candidate and make him the head coach. What I don't want is for the Blazers to cast a wide net and select a coach that may not be as qualified as Tiago or somebody else because they can do it for a cost savings. That's what I want them to avoid.
Well, we'll see how it all plays out, but a lot of the names that we're hearing about lately, it sure seems like as qualified as some of them may be, and as intriguing as some of them may be, as coaching candidates in a vacuum. It sure seems like that's a lot of what I haven't really seen any names come up so far as serious candidates. Like, there's the stuff that's been floated out there about like, oh yeah, they attempted to reach out to Michael Malone or Tom Thibodeau. Like, I don't even really count that because that's never really been a serious possibility. But there haven't really been a lot of names so far that I've looked at and said, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's somebody you should hire over Tiago.
Who are some of the names that people may know or don't know? What are some of the names that you've heard associated with the Trailblazers coaching search?
Well, putting aside some of the college coaches that have been reported for a few years, one that's come up pretty regularly is Jared Dudley, who's currently an assistant with the Nuggets, obviously played in the league for a number of years, and has been an assistant with the Mavericks and with the Lakers before that. One that Jake Fisher reported today that Blazers fans could know well if they remember that 2022 Summer League championship run is Steve Hetzel, who's currently an assistant coach with the Nets, who, is currently a finalist for the Pelicans head coaching job. So, that's kind of an up-and-coming guy. And then one that I've heard that I put out earlier today is Greg St. Jean, who's a assistant coach with the Lakers, who's been there for a few years. So that's kind of the level of names that are getting out there so far. It's not a whole lot of big names, not a whole lot of people with a lot of head coaching experience. Those are kind of the ones that you're starting to hear trickle out.
Okay, there's been a lot of reporting in regard to Tom Dundon and the coaching search, and money that's been offered to potential candidates for the job. What can you confirm based on your work and your reporting in terms of what has been offered by Dundon?
Pretty much all of it. The 1 to 1.5. Like, he doesn't. I mean, I know Joe said what he said at his exit interviews, and I understand that you have to say what you have to say in that setting if you're him. But I mean, all indications. I haven't really gotten pushback from people outside of the organization that like, oh no, when I talked to, when this coach talked to Tom Dundon, he actually was willing to offer, a more, salary. And like, I haven't really been here. Like, that kind of pushback hasn't really been coming from outside of the organization.
Interesting. All right. We're talking with Sean Highkin, Trailblazer Insider from Rose Garden Report. Do you have any idea how long this process may take or when they would like to have this completed?
No, that's something that Joe Cronin also, said they don't really have a firm timetable for at exit interviews. I would think that, I mean, usually when a team is doing a coaching search, like you're starting to see some of these other ones be wrapped up pretty soon. Like, it sounds like New Orleans is pretty close to having a decision. Milwaukee already filled their opening. Orlando, I think, is going to get theirs done soon. But usually teams want to have their coaching stuff figured out by next week, which is the lottery and the draft combine. And, because you want to, start your pre-draft process knowing who's going to be coaching whoever it is you draft. That is not necessarily that big of a factor for the Blazers because as of right now, they don't have a pick in either the first or second round. So it's not like, next week they're going to, I mean, the front office is all still going to be in Chicago for the combine, but they're not going to be there like, okay, we have this pick. This is who we're going to take. So now we have to find a coach that fits with how this draft pick fits. I would say roughly you would like to have somebody in place by maybe the week before the draft, because the week of the draft, it sounds like, as it usually is going to be when any big moves happen. And if the Blazers are going to be making some of these big moves roster-wise, you kind of want to know by then who's going to be coaching the team and how whoever you're going after on the trade market or for the free agent market fits into their philosophy. So I would say middle to end of June is like the absolute latest that I think they would be comfortable having a decision done by.
Yeah, it's different. I don't remember the last time the Blazers did not have a draft pick in the first or second round, but that certainly makes the draft a different type of night. Do you think the Blazers might buy into the second round to get in on some of the action, or do you think they're going to sit on the sidelines for this one?
I think anything is pretty much on the table. I honestly wouldn't even be surprised if they decide to try to, instead, they have all these future draft capital, some of this Bucks stuff and, these other picks. I wouldn't be surprised if instead of, using that to, make, do a big trade for somebody like Giannis or somebody, if there's somebody that they really like in the lottery in the top, 10 or so of this upcoming draft, and they can use some of that excess, like future draft picks, including some of those really valuable picks, to go get a player in the top 10 or the top 5 of this draft, that would be another way they could use that. So I think all that stuff is on the table as far as maybe potentially buying or trading into the draft.
All right. What are the majority of questions you're getting right now from your readers, Blazer fans around the area? Is it about the coaching search, or is it about whether or not the Blazers are going to go big game hunting this offseason?
It's kind of all of the above. I mean, those are kind of the two big things is, you see all these rumors about Giannis and Anthony Davis and whoever else. People are interested in that. People are interested in, obviously, the coaching situation and kind of some of the other effects of the ownership change. And, also the future of some of the guys on the roster. Shaedon Sharpe, obviously, you saw, didn't play a ton in the playoffs, and it seemed pretty frustrated about that during exit interviews. So there's obviously some questions about his future. Scoot Henderson is coming up for an extension this upcoming off season. So there's some questions about whether he's a part of the future long term, or whether they're going to get something done with that, or whether they're going to let him go out to restricted free agency. There's a lot of stuff up in the air with this team over the off season. It's not just one topic.
Well, that's definitely one thing I'm going to pay attention to. I'm very curious to see what happens with Scoot and Shaden. And if they have to let one go because they make a big deal, I want to know which one it is. Like, I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I think everybody's really curious how a lot of that stuff is going to play out. And I mean, I would think there would be one out of those two that would be more, make more sense to let go of. But I just, it depends on, what the trade offers are and what the packages look like and what's needed to get something done. And, it's all going to play out over the next 8 weeks or so.
All right, Sean, what's your takeaway on what you're seeing with the playoffs right now? We got a couple of good series going on. Minnesota and San Antonio tied up a 1 as they go back to Minneapolis. And then tonight we got Detroit and Cleveland, followed by the Lakers and the Thunder. Like, what are you keeping an eye on postseason-wise right now that you like?
Well, we really need to wait. I mean, the thing that I think is going to swing a lot of this is how serious this hamstring injury is that OG Anunoby suffered last night in Game 2 of the Knicks-Sixers series. It sounds like, the messaging right now is that that's not serious, so hopefully he doesn't miss more than a couple of games. And obviously hamstring stuff is kind of tough, but I think the Knicks at this point, they're up 2-0 on the Sixers. They should be able to get through that series even without him. But if they have everybody healthy, I think the Knicks are clearly the favorite to come out of the East. But if OG misses some time, then, I think they're vulnerable in a series against either the Cavs or the Pistons. I'm really interested in the San Antonio-Minnesota series because obviously last night was just a blowout for the Spurs. But the game before that, I thought the Timberwolves played them really well, and even Anthony Edwards afterwards says he didn't even think they played as well as they could have. So that's easily the most compelling series that's left to me.
Yeah, the two teams that I'm enjoying watching the most right now, the Knicks being one because of how well connected they are on both ends of the floor, and you could tell that they enjoy playing with one another. And then Minnesota just reminds me of an old school team from like the late 80s, early 90s, with the way they defend, their toughness, the way they like to talk a little junk in the process. Like, I like Chris Finch, their head coach. I just like how they play. They're different than a lot of teams in the postseason, but they're tough.
Yeah, and, unlike, and it's kind of an interesting thing because obviously San Antonio has the most high-end talent with Wemby, but this Timberwolves group has been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row, so they kind of have that playoff experience having all been to war together. So it's an interesting kind of stylistic contrast and matchup. So, I think that's definitely the series that I'm the most interested to see how it's going to play out.
Are you excited for the Flyers home opener on this Saturday?
Should be fun, yeah.
What type of crowd are they expecting for the opener?
I mean, the preseason crowd they said was 13,000. So if that's the crowd for a preseason game, I would imagine that the opener is going to be pretty close to sold out.
But based on what I've seen with attendance around the league, if you're drawing 10 to 13,000 for a WNBA game, that's pretty legit, isn't it?
For a preseason game, especially. So we'll see what it looks like. Once we get past these first couple of games, and it's more in the novelty of it is kind of worn off. We'll see what the attendance keeps being like. But so far, it seems like that's all pretty strong.
All right, Sean, I think that's all I've got for you for now. I appreciate you making time for me, and keep up the good work. I'm just enjoying reading you at rosegardenreport.com. And, this offseason, and then we're going to wait and see what happens with some of the young guys and potential big move head coach. And then we're going to wait and see what happens with some of the young guys and potential big moves. So a lot of things, could potentially happen this summer, which would be intriguing.
Yeah, it's going to be a real interesting offseason.
All right, buddy. There's Sean Highkin, Rose Garden Report here on the Rip City Drive, our Trailblazer insider. Appreciate him making time for the show. And you got to read him. He provides the best local coverage in town of the Trailblazers. So there you have it. I still have a hard time. A guy like Dundon being as sharp as he is, are you really going to offer somebody $1 to $1.5 million to coach the Trailblazers? I just find that hard to believe. That's all. We're also going to get to the comments made by Draymond last night on Inside the NBA. He and Charles Barkley feuding a little bit, or I should say Draymond taking shots at Charles, and it just got a little bit awkward. Like those TV moments where you can tell it's a little bit uncomfortable because someone doesn't really know what they're doing. Charles Barkley, he was a phenomenal basketball player, one of the best players I've ever seen in my lifetime, and he's right up there with the best power forwards in the history of the NBA. But he's so good at TV and so comfortable at just speaking his mind. I think a lot of people look at Charles and they're like, I can do that. And then you get in that position and you realize, like, oh, I can't do that because Charles is special and he's a unique personality and he's got a way of making people laugh. And Charles is a very funny guy, but Charles is also really good because he just shares whatever's on his mind. And he does so with a smile on his face. It's refreshing. He's great. I love Inside the NBA like most of you do. Very similar to John Madden. He was a terrific, awesome NFL head coach. He made the transition to the broadcast booth, and it was a smooth transition. And he was so good that he made it look easy, but there's a lot of people that he opened doors for that couldn't be him because he was a one of a kind. And he had a way of talking to the average fan, of getting down to their level and explaining things in a way everyone could understand it. And you could tell he had a passion for the game. He loved the game, and people enjoyed listening to him. And that's what I thought was a real skill because as time went on and he became a mega TV star, I mean, he was in the upper crust. He was filthy rich, John Madden was. But that did not prevent him from being able to speak on the level of the common fan. And because of that, people are able to connect with him and love watching him on the TV broadcasts. He was great. You know, I watch a lot of old Johnny Carson episodes. I enjoy doing it. It's amazing how many great guests he had over the years, and he was so smooth at, hosting the Tonight Show. But what I thought was impressive, Johnny Carson, one of the most successful TV people in showbiz of all time, and he was iconic in his role as host of the Tonight Show, but yet he had a way, even though he was filthy rich and elite, he had a way of being able to communicate with the average American, the common Joe. And that's a real skill. That's an ability. And for Draymond, he's got a dynamic personality, but he's going to have to learn how to present himself, how to laugh at himself. Like there's things you have to be able to pick up on and develop if you're going to be really good in that role. Because Charles Barkley is one of the very best. And he's so good on TV that it overshadows how great he was as an NBA player. And I'm just happy that I had a chance to see him play live on multiple occasions at the Coliseum. One of my favorite teams of all time, that Suns team that went to the finals and lost to Chicago. I love Barkley on that team. And that was the year he won MVP. But they had Barkley, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley. They had a number of very good players on that team. And they just couldn't get past Chicago. Like everybody else because of freaking Michael Jordan. That's all. But there were some very good players on that team. Tom Chambers. And that was a fun team. Kevin Johnson, one of the quickest first steps I've ever seen in the game at point guard. So quick and so good. All right, so Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. He'll join us coming up at 4:20. Got to get his take on the NFL draft. See what he thinks about the schedule drop, which is coming out next week. And then we'll get his take on what he's seeing right now in the NBA playoffs. So coming up here in about 23 minutes, we'll get Game 2, Cavs and Pistons. Cleveland still looking for their first road win in the postseason this year. Denny Avdia thinks he's got a turnover issue. And Detroit thinks he's got a turnover issue. And Detroit, after surviving Orlando, looked pretty good in Game 1. We'll see what they can do tonight. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I appreciate your time. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. Brian Noe's coming up at 4:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, this song takes me back to the mid-'80s and summer times in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And back then, I would rely on my older cousins to be able to drive us around town. My cousin Todd was super cool. He was also a little bit crazy, had a wild hair. So anytime we went anywhere with Todd in his truck, we knew he was going to be driving fast and reckless. And then my cousin Lisa, who was awesome, she would drive us around. But during the summertime, we would hit one of two places, either Big Splash, which was like the water park right in the middle of Tulsa, or Bell's Amusement Park, which is no longer there. But those were like my two favorite places on the planet as a youngster. And Nana was always good to take us too, anytime we wanted to go. But summer times, and just cranked up the radio, listening to songs. I remember when Ghostbusters came out, we couldn't get enough of that, so we would cruise and jam Ray Parker Jr. as well. The good old days, as they call them. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. All right, I want to play this. It came from Inside the NBA, which is a terrific show. Charles Barkley is phenomenal, and that entire crew. I love Shaq and Charles together. I love it when Charles starts saying crazy stuff and Shaq loses it and starts laughing. And then Kenny Smith, I rarely understand what he's saying, but I do love it when Charles makes Shaq laugh. And they're like two overgrown children. And Shaq is cool. You know, I've seen him in a variety of different settings. Obviously a great basketball player, one of the most dominant NBA players I've ever seen in my life. But he's one of those guys where if he goes into a Walmart or he's in a store, he will go up to kids and tell them to go ask their mom if he can buy them a bike. And he'll just spend a bunch of money on other people because he wants to take care of youngsters. I think that's cool. So I'm down with Shaq. I'm down with Charles. And they do a great job on the show. Now, Draymond Green is, preparing that transition into life after basketball. And he does a great job with his podcast. He's not afraid to share his opinions. And he does a really good job. But what he's learning is that it's very difficult to make TV look as easy as Charles Barkley does. Take a listen to this exchange, and you can tell me what you think. If Draymond was out of line, if you thought it was uncomfortable television, just take a listen to the interaction between Charles and Draymond.
Well, it's over for the Warriors.
There you go.
I mean, no disrespect.
But disrespect is.
There you go. No
disrespect. Disrespect.
It ends for every old team. You have your run. You get old. Y'all let Clay go. You and Steph on the backside of y'all careers. It just passed you by. Y'all had one of the greatest runs ever. It ended for Larry Bird Celtics. It ended for Isaiah Thomas Pistons. It ended for Michael Jordan Bulls, The Last Dance.
Absolutely.
It ended for Tim Duncan and Parker and Ginobili. It always ends. Sports are for young people. You hope to have a great long career, but sports, nobody wins when they're 37, 38.
But you said what you said. I didn't want to hear if he believes what you're talking. I think the goal is just to not look like you in the Houston Rockets uniform.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. So Draymond taking a personal shot at Charles and his time with the Houston Rockets. And Charles has, talked about this at length, that he knew it was time to retire because he wasn't the same player with the Rockets as he was with Phoenix or Philadelphia. That as time went on, like a lot of these guys, they recognize they're not the same player. Physically, they can't do the same. Maybe they're not in the same type of condition. Their body's getting older. The injuries start to mount up. Like, you're not the same player. Now, Charles still averaged 18 and 12 with the Rockets, and they did go to a Western Conference final and were bumped out by the Utah Jazz. So Charles Barkley's worst years were better statistically than Draymond's best years. I guess one way to look at it, would you rather have Charles Barkley's career where you have no championships, but you're simply one of the best power forwards to ever play the game, and you're one of the all-time greats, and you got to participate with the Dream Team in 92. Would you rather have that, or would you want to be Draymond Green and have multiple championships in a lesser role, but still a vital role on a championship team? or you could be Charles Barkley and put up wild numbers and be considered one of the most dominant players in the history of the game at your position. Which career would you like? But I think the key here for Draymond, and this is pretty simple, and I've had to learn this too, just working with different people over the years in radio. At some point, you've got to be able to laugh at yourself. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. You've got to be able to understand that when you're on the show with, strong personalities, that jokes are going to fly, that people are going to point things out, and you've got to be able to roll with it and laugh. And I think for a lot of these athletes who are young in the television biz or the radio biz, they still have a bit of a chip on their shoulder because they're competitors and they don't want to show that side. So they start to attack. And we saw this with Draymond the other day in his attack of Austin Rivers. Austin Rivers came out in response on the Dan Patrick Show and shared his well-reasoned take on the comments that Draymond had made that Steve Kerr had hindered him in his career. And Austin Rivers thought it was crazy for him to say that because not only did Steve Kerr not hinder his career, but he put him in the best possible position to succeed. And because of that, he's going to have a Hall of Fame career. He'll eventually be in the Basketball Hall of Fame because of his role on the Warriors dynasty and winning multiple championships. In Draymond's response, instead of dealing with any of the legitimate basketball questions that Austin had, he started taking personal shots at him. So the biggest thing for Draymond, you got to learn to laugh at yourself, and you've got to be able to do that. You've got to lower your guard and laugh. And people like it when stars can have some self-deprecating humor, when you can laugh at yourself, when you can have fun with it. You're going to make yourself more likable, and people are going to react to that. But don't try to take personal shots at Charles because of his time in Houston when, in reality, his time in Houston was still better than anything you did with the Warriors, based on numbers. And Charles Barkley is one of the best players to ever play in the NBA. No question about it. He doesn't have a ring, but he's still one of the greatest players of all time. And I know there's a lot of players like that, for some reason, because they didn't get a ring, that somehow, some way, they're a lesser player. Karl Malone, in my mind, he's probably the best power forward to ever play the game. He has no rings. He's still one of the very best to ever play that position. John Stockton, one of the best point guards of all time. He does not have a championship. And you can go down the line. Alex English led the NBA in scoring in the decade of the 80s. He doesn't have a championship. I mean, there are many, many players, great players, who don't have a ring. But I don't think it takes away from what they accomplished. I really don't. Dan Marino, I've seen him play throughout his career. He doesn't have a championship. He's still one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live and to ever throw a football. So the ring thing gets a little out of control sometimes. When we start to evaluate players. I mean, Bill Russell has more championships than anybody, but I still don't think he's the best player of all time. And that's no disrespect to Bill. He was awesome. But his jewelry doesn't make him better than Wilt or Kareem. What does Kareem have? 6? Kareem's career was pretty good, too. All right, 503. Just laugh at yourself. Draymond, if he can learn to laugh at himself and have a little self-deprecating humor and try not to take everything so personal and take shots at people, he'll have a chance to be a star on TV. And I've seen him before. When you ask him questions after a game, he'll answer anything. He's got a very good personality when he wants to. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Brian Bino, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join us coming up at 4:20. We'll get his take on the draft, a little draft recap with Bino. We'll talk some NBA playoffs. If you want to jump on board, feel free. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Whose career would you rather have, Draymond's or Charles Barkley's? 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive. going on? Hey, it's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. What's going on, my friend? Hey, it's now 4 o'clock. Chad here. What's going on, my friends? Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. We start with the NBA playoffs where we got 2 games tonight. Here in about 5 to 10 minutes, Pistons will host the Cavs in Detroit. They're favored by 3, and they've got a 1-game-to-none lead after winning game 1 by 10 points. The Cavs have yet to win a road playoff game this season. They are 0-4. At 6:30, Lakers are going to beat the Thunder again in Oklahoma City. OKC favored by 15. They're up 1-game-to-none after taking game number 1. Tomorrow we'll get the Knicks and Sixers in Philly, Spurs and Wolves from Minneapolis in a pair of game 3s. Brian Noel, Fox Sports Radio, to recap the draft and talk NBA playoffs. The Rockies over the Mets 6-2, Cubs 8, Reds 3. Guardians top the Royals and Rockies over the Mets 6-2, Cubs 8, Reds 3. Guardians top the Royals in Kansas City 8-5, and the Nationals edge the Twins 7-5. That's a great song from Robert Palmer. Very underrated as an artist. All right, I've got a message here from Russ and Nicole who listen to the show. And he says, Houston, sure, every old trick in the book by his Houston days. I'd take Chuck's career for sure. Draymond trick in the book by his Houston days. I'd take Chuck's career for sure. Draymond benefited greatly by his situation. He also said that Austin Rivers' comments were on point. There's no question about that. So let's take a listen to a couple of different things and to further my point about Draymond and, you know, this process of him becoming a TV personality. He's going to have to learn how to laugh at himself, you know, self-deprecating humor, to have fun and not take things for different reasons. One, he makes people laugh all the time. He can laugh at himself for reasons. One, he makes people laugh all the time. He can laugh at himself, and he is unafraid to share whatever is on his mind. He's very appealing. Even when I disagree with Charles, which is frequently, I just respect the way he handles his business because I know when he tells me something, that's what he truly believes. And that's really all I'm looking for at this point in my life. Like, I can disagree with you. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. But if I know that what you're telling me is what you truly believe and you're just being real, like if you're a real person, then I respect it. I couldn't care less what side of the political spectrum you come on or where you sit. It doesn't matter to me. I just care about relationship, and I like real people who just share their thoughts, you know, with no filter. I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So here is Draymond Green. This is where it gets a little bit goofy. Draymond actually said that Steve Kerr hindered him in his career. I mean, this is comical because I would say it was the exact opposite. Not only did Steve Kerr not hinder him in his career, he put him in the best possible position to succeed, and he was a catalyst in the Warriors' multiple championships during their dynasty run. And on top of that, Steve Kerr defended him even when he was acting like a fool. Like, Steve Kerr's been in his corner every step of the way. So to suggest that he hindered his career is just, I mean, it's complete and utter nonsense, frankly. But here's Draymond talking about Steve Kerr. Take a listen to this.
He's such a unique person. There's things he's done that I can never forgive him for.
and yet I will do anything for him. When you spend 14 years with someone, when you've had the runs that we've had, playing the role that I've had to play and being who I've had to be, some things like that are going to happen. Everything hasn't just been one way. It hasn't just been like, oh man, Draymond did this, Steve's mad. I don't take that any way at all. Speaking of this December thing, I spoke to him after that and it was like, I don't think you like me. I don't think you've ever liked me, if I'm honest. Like, he cried. Like, really? However, what he's meant to me in my life, what he's taught me in my life, I was just telling him in our exit interview, the things that he's taught me about being a winner, I'm not sure where else I could have got that. I played for Tom Izzo, and Steve just took that to a completely different level, and especially showing me things about this level and winning. Like, I could never repay him for that. It's so important to who I've become. As much as he's done for me in basketball, a part of me think he's hindered me in my career and what I could have become. When KD came from 2016 on, I have not had a play in our playbook. Not a single play that we run for me in our playbook since 2016. But if you're going to take one gripe and not be able to move past it for all the other things, then you're shallow as a person. That says more about you as a person than it does about Steve or whoever else in that instant. You got to take the good with the bad, man.
All right, that's amazing. Steve Kerr hindering Draymond in his career. And it is funny that he brought up the idea that he hasn't had a play called for him since Kevin Durant arrived during his time with the Warriors. There's a lot of great players in the league that do not get plays called for them. They just don't. And the reason why is because there's a pecking order on a team. Do I want Steph and KD taking these shots or Draymond Green? Yeah, I think I'll go with Steph and KD or Klay Thompson. Frankly, I don't need Draymond jacking up anything. You go out there and facilitate, play your defense, dish out the assists, grab the rebounds, do all the stuff you want, but we need these guys taking the shots. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it should be. We're not drawing up a play for Draymond Green here. That's a bad idea, especially when we got Steph, Klay, and KD. I mean, there's teams like that across the league where it's like, okay, there's a pecking order, as there should be, and these guys are going to get the bulk of the shots, right? And the same thing with the Blazers. Do I want Damon CJ putting up the shots or Al-Farouq Aminu and Mo Harkless? Sorry, we're not drawing up a play for you, Farouk. No offense. Of course, no offense. So anyways, Dan Patrick had Austin Rivers on his show and asked him, about those comments that Draymond had, that Steve Kerr hindered him in his career. Here's what Austin Rivers had to say.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's utter ridiculous. And you know what's shocking? Because Draymond has such a he has such a high IQ. That's a big part of his game is how smart of a basketball player he is. So it bewilders me that he even thinks like this, because it's like, Draymond, them taking a chance on you and them playing you and Steve putting you at the forefront of that offense, making you be the point forward and kind of the, letting you allow you to have that voice and the freedom to have your, whether it's a spasms or when he loses it, or to be the emotional leader of that team. Steve let him be who he was. So to hear he was hindered, especially Draymond's never been an offensive score juggernaut. He's left open 80% of the game. No one guards him. And because he's such a high IQ player, he's been able to take that and be a free screener for Steph, Klay. He's been this enforcer. He does all these things defensively to dominate. I don't know what way he was hindered and why they would ever draw up plays for you to score. You were never a scorer. In fact, the teams would have loved it. If you were shooting, it'd be much better than Steph not, or Klay or Kevin not. It's like, it's just ludicrous. I don't even know where he got this from.
So that's,
yeah. Where would he get that from? And I thought Austin Rivers, he did a great job of giving his take without taking any personal shots at Draymond. I have no issue with that whatsoever. I agree with everything he said because he's spot on. Well, was frustrated, but this is the key. Take a listen to Draymond Green, and this is going to be important for him as he continues to transition into television work, is not getting personal, like we saw he did last night with Chuck. Instead of dealing with any of these specific basketball points that Austin Rivers made, he took shots at Austin Rivers, which, again, I can understand the temptation. if you're Doc Rivers' son, you're probably in a position where people want to make fun of you.
Speaking of Austin Rivers, I saw he said he's bewildered and it's ridiculous of what I said. And I just find it interesting that a guy who was the 10th pick in my draft, I was 35, who's on his second act, still on act 1, he goes, Draymond, never been a scorer. Austin, you and I averaged the same amount of points in high school. And I say high school because that's when you were at your best. And then in college, he was still good. He was very featured at Duke because NBA careers, should he really talk about my NBA career? I'm still with my first team. He was gone from his first team in 2 years. The guy received the biggest bailout in U.S. history prior to President Trump bailing out the airlines when his dad gave him $42 million. And I tip my hat to Doc. I pray that I can give DJ $200 million or give Deuce $250 million. I pray that I can do that one day. I love how people just go take the 15 seconds that they want to take and make it a headline. But I really enjoyed watching Austin Rivers be bewildered.
Okay.
All right, there's Draymond. Personal shots. Come on, Dre, relax. Respond to the basketball points that he made because he wasn't taking personal shots at you. Now, after those comments from Draymond, Austin responded and got a little more personal. And once again, did a fabulous job. Like, if you're going to get into a verbal match with somebody, you might want to pick someone that didn't go to Duke.
Come on, Draymond. This is ridiculous. Seriously. Ridiculous. But you know what? I'm going to address it because you crossed the line and you were mad disrespectful for whatever reason. You've been around too long. We both were drafted in the same class. The fact that you don't have the wherewithal to do your due diligence and actually understand I was being highly complimentary of you on the Dan Patrick Show. But it's you, and I shouldn't be surprised. You always act irrationally, emotionally immature, and your anger always puts you in hot water. So here I am having to address a video of you belittling my career. First off, Draymond, we weren't the same players in high school. I don't care about our numbers being similar. I did it at the national level, the top level. Hence why I got the Naismith Award, and I got pretty much every award you can think of in high school. I was ranked number 1. You were ranked, I don't know. So cut it out. Next. College, you actually were a really good college basketball player, but it's hard to compare because I was only there for 6 months, something you could never do. Talk about I was, one of the featured guys. No, I was the guy. I led my team in scoring. I was first team All-ACC, freshman player of the year, lottery pick. Stop. Next. The NBA, hey, man, you got it, Dre. I mean, listen, I played in the NBA for more than 10 years, more than a decade, but 11 years, but I'm not a Hall of Famer like you. So I'll give you that credit. All right? You got it. But let's peel back that onion and understand why. Easy, Tiger. Okay? You have the delusion, the non-wherewithal, the irony of you saying I'm part of the biggest bailout in NBA history. Draymond, you are the luckiest basketball player I think I've ever seen, especially in modern day history. Let's talk about that. You were drafted to a franchise with the Hall of Fame front office, Bob Myers, Hall of Fame coach, Steve Kerr, the greatest shooter of all time, and perhaps the top 5 player of all time, Steph Curry, Hall of Famer. One of the greatest shooters, top 5 shooter of all time, another Hall of Famer, Klay Thompson. The Swiss Army knife himself, the guy who could do a little bit of everything on the floor, Andre Iguodala, another Hall of Famer. I know, keep up, it's a lot of talent. Not to mention one of the most lethal scorers of all time and arguably a top 10 player of all time, Kevin Durant, the same guy you chased off because of this, your mouth. You talk too much. And that's not even counting the plethora of talent around those guys. The Sean Livingstons, the Barbosas, the Andrew Wiggins, the Jordan Pooles, who you also chased off. Cut it out. Draymond, you're the backpack jump shooter. You're the guy that everyone leaves open. No one guards you. There are hours and hours and hours of film of just you being left wide open. In fact, anybody can just YouTube or Google or watch any Draymond game ever, and he's open all game. There are clips of you getting a rebound and just driving in a straight line and just getting a wide open layup because everyone's fanning out to guard the actual talent on the team. Talking about Steve Kerr hindered your career. Bro, Steve Kerr made your career. How dare you? Coming at me? Are you kidding me? I wish I could give my son $200 million if I was a coach. Yo, the NBA doesn't give coaching jobs to guys who may or may not sucker punch one of the players and staff. You need to fall back, Dre. Let's just be frenemies.
Wow. Respect to Austin Rivers. That's a great response. Yeah, you got to give the NBA credit. At least there's always drama, some form of drama. Now, Michael Shacker, who I work with basically every day, he does not consume or spend any time on social media, which I greatly respect. I did send you a link to an X report on Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel
I do appreciate TMZ reporting.
Okay. Did you see the report that I sent you?
Yes.
And this is exclusive according to TMZ. And I'm looking at the video right now. New Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel video shows the two heading out for their Tennessee boat day while she was very much showing during her first pregnancy. Unbelievable.
I know. I've heard so many stories of men cheating when the woman is pregnant. But I've never really heard stories the other way around when it was the pregnant woman doing the cheating. I mean, have you heard of any of those?
No. That's what makes this so wild. What I really want to know is two things now. Is one of the children Mike Vrabel's? That's a legitimate question. And who sent the PI to take the initial photographs at the Sedona Couples Retreat Lodge? It's one of three. It could be an NFL team that hates Mike Vrabel. It could be the husband, quite possible, or it could be the wife of Mike Vrabel. Do you have a vote for who you think it was, Shacker?
No, but we need Jerry Springer type show. We need that back in our lives to figure this one out. Because that's where they belong.
And Maury Povich was the one who did You're Not the Father,
Yeah,
right?
Baby mamas. Yeah.
Fascinating. You're right, though. That's a very good point. Men cheating on their pregnant wives, that happens. But the pregnant wife cheating on the husband, that's a new one. I hadn't thought of it like that. I appreciate you bringing up that point. All right, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to come up next, and we will get his take on the NFL draft. We'll talk NBA playoffs with him. That first game is now underway. Detroit early first quarter, 12-5 lead on Cleveland. They lead that series 1-0. And then we got the yawner coming up at 6:30, Lakers and Thunder in a gigantic mismatch. Thunder favored by 15 in game 2 tonight. Tomorrow, New York and Philadelphia. Right now, the Sixers are a 1.5-point favorite. And then you got San Antonio at Minnesota. They are currently a 4-point road favorite, the Spurs. And that series tied up at 1. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, coming up next. He is my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio, the one, the only Brian O. Bino! What's up, brother?
Chad Doing, what is going on, man? We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. We're hooking up with pregnant ladies over here. You know, we got ball going on, always in season. Basketball, NBA playoffs are magnificent. Are the Lakers going to lose by 40? I don't know. They might tonight. I'm so fired up to talk to you.
You know, Michael Shacker just brought up a very good point in the previous segment. We were talking about the report that came out from TMZ where it showed Vrabel and Rossini getting ready to take a little Tennessee boat trip while she was pregnant with her first child. You know, it's not a surprise that there are men who have been known to cheat on their pregnant wives, but we've never seen it the other way around where the pregnant wife cheats on the husband.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some stories out there where the guy's like, there's no chance I can get you pregnant? All right. Like, this is very adult type stuff here, but I'm sure it does happen, but you're right. Like, normally this isn't the, like the hot secretary mistress, like the typical cheating 101 type scenario of, this is what's going on. Well, Diana Rossini is pregnant, and Vrabel's like, "Hey, man, it's all good." Wow, we're getting deeper and deeper into this story over here.
It's a crazy, crazy story. I mean, that's probably what was going through his mind. He's like, "Hey, pregnant. At least I know she puts out." I mean, hey, it simplifies matters, right? I mean, it's crazy, but you know, here's the interesting part. A lot of people are frustrated because they see Rossini. Her career is now destroyed. She cannot be an NFL insider because she's compromised herself. But yet Vrabel continues on as a head football coach. And I guess the way I look at this is very simple, that having an affair, if you're a head football coach, it does not prevent you from being able to do your job, right? You can draw up X's and O's. You can coach your players. You can motivate them. You can get your team to a Super Bowl without issue. So that's the difference. But she's an insider, and so she compromised herself, and that's why he still has a job. Also, he's very good and just took his team to a Super Bowl. And my guess would be that they want to be careful because my thought would be that Vrabel's not the only coach to have affairs in the past, too. So it's a really interesting situation.
No, it really is. And that's the thing. That's the key point is this isn't a gender thing. It's a job thing.
Yes.
If Mike Vrabel were the reporter and he compromised his journalistic integrity, he'd be out of a gig, too.
Yeah.
You know, so that's just the way it is. And it's funny because I'm sure you've been hearing a lot of the talking points and like, is Mike Vrabel going to get fired? You know, you hear that quite a bit. Like, is it going to be Mike McDaniel coaching the Patriots in week 1? It's like, no, it's going to be Mike Vrabel.
Of course.
You know, like they were 4-13, followed by 4-13, and then a Super Bowl appearance. I'm not, just brushing aside what he did, but he's not, he's not a priest. He's a football coach. And there's no
and he's really good.
That he broke.
Yeah.
And he's really good at what he does. Yeah. So he took a team that was a 4-win team, dumpster fire, and they just got rid of the one-and-done Gerard Mayo debacle. And now Vrabel comes in and poof, they're in a Super Bowl, and they're going to run him out of town right away. Like, that's just not happening. So every time I hear these talking points of, well, what if something else comes out? What if there's more news unveiled? It's like, bro, the news that would have to be unveiled for Robert Kraft to be like, okay, this just goes above the line of decency. I don't think that news bulletin is coming out. He's going to be on the sideline for the Patriots in week 1. The question that is interesting to me, Chad, is what's the reaction if they get off to a bad start? We haven't seen the schedule. I think it gets released next week, bit by bit. I think it's Tuesday through Thursday next week. But if they get a murderer's row start to the schedule, and let's just say they start off 1-3, I think it's going to be overreaction city. I think it's going to be this team isn't focused, the Vrabel shenanigans, but I think it's going to be overreaction city. But I'd be stunned if he's not coaching the team.
I can't wait for the schedule drop, which is coming next week. And you're right. Yeah, if Vrabel, like if it was a coach who was mediocre or who was coming off of a couple of mediocre years and had underperformed and the team was looking for a reason to let the coach go, then they would probably let him go if he had this type of scandal on his hands. Like, that would be the reason, like, okay, now we can get out from underneath this coach and go out and find the right coach. But if you're going to win games and be as good as Mike Vrabel, then you're going to keep your job. The one thing I will watch, because in my experience in life now, and you and I have been around on this planet long enough to realize certain things, cheaters tend to cheat all the time. So my guess would be that we may not, Diana Russini may not be the only person on the list for Mike Vrabel, so it's going to be interesting to see what pops out from Tennessee or other places where he stopped with this type of behavior. So the story continues to get worse, and I have a feeling it's not over yet.
You might be right. That'd be pretty interesting if there's another layer to it and somebody else is on the list of Vrabel. I think this, Chad, I think that, look, I expect him, we've detailed it, I think he's going to be on the sideline. It's not just, that's like we're reading the news, like we're weathermen over here. It's not like what we're rooting for. We're not cheering for this to be the case. It's just like this, it's 2 + 2 = 4 here, right?
Yeah.
That's all we're saying. But I was thinking about this today, too, is I haven't been a cheater, Chad. I've been cheated on. And I think this is how it works in the mind of a cheater, right? Like, I think that you're just in this fun world that's different than the real world, you know, and you're really not conscientious of what you're doing and the impact until you get busted. You know what I mean? And I think that Mike Vrabel, who was spending time in the fun world for years with Diana Russini, he never made the equation to the real world. And now all of a sudden, like, he's known when he got to the Patriots, he laid the groundwork, and he's like, you're going to have respect for everybody in this building. I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's whatever, the dude that's sweeping up at the end of the day, the lady in the lunch line, whatever. You're going to have respect for every single person in this building. And now he's exited the fun world and right into the real world. And he's like, I'm the biggest hypocrite on the planet right now. I'm telling all of my players to have respect for everybody in this building. And I don't have any respect for anybody in my own home. You know what I mean? Like when you see Vrabel in the airport with TMZ and the memes and they're just clowning the guy and the whole situation, that is nothing compared to the realization of I'm a walking, talking hypocrite.
Yes.
I'm a total fraud right now. What he's wrestling with, and he deserves to be wrestling with it.
Yes.
It is beyond a cold ice bucket bath of reality. I think that's exactly where he is right now. He's been in the fun world for years, and now he is in the real world and the consequences of all of that stuff all at once.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he deserves. That's a cold reality to be in right now.
The other thing I've been reminded of during this weird saga is that people should understand it's okay to say less or not talk at all. Like, it was pretty bizarre when his quarterback came out the day before yesterday and said that there's not going to be any issues at all because, quote, Mike Vrabel is a tremendous human being.
Right. Yeah. I know. It's not the greatest of descriptions right now, you know, like I think that a lot of people they get it twisted with they just evaluate someone on their own interactions with them.
Yeah.
As if that's all there is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's more to a person than just how you know him. Like, think how many people in radio we know, Chad. If you just evaluated them based on how they are doing their job, they might be completely different, good or bad, outside of their job.
Yes.
I just think a lot of people fall into that trap of like, oh, man, Mike Vrabel, he's been a stand-up guy all I've known him. And it's like, well, not exactly a stand-up guy outside of the working area, right? You got to take that into account or you sound like an idiot when you're describing him.
Yeah, it's truly wild. We're talking with Bino O'Brien, Fox Sports Radio here on the Rip City Drive. I wanted to ask you about the comments. In fact, I'll play it again for people who haven't heard it. I'm sure you saw it last night. But Draymond Green was on Inside the NBA, which, of course, is a phenomenal show. And Charles Barkley is just a great personality. I love him and Shaq and that entire crew working together. But here's what the interaction between Draymond and Charles Barkley. I want to get your take on it. Take a listen.
Well, it's over for the Warriors.
There you go.
I mean, no disrespect.
But disrespect is. There you go.
No
disrespect. Disrespect.
It ends for every old team. You have your run. You get old. Y'all let Clay go. You and Steph on the backside of y'all careers. It just passed you by. Y'all had one of the greatest runs ever. It ended for Larry Bird Celtics. It ended for Isaiah Thomas Pistons. It ended for Michael Jordan Bulls, The Last Dance.
Absolutely.
It ended for Tim Duncan and Parker and Ginobili. It always ends. Sports are for young people. You hope to have a great long career But sports, nobody wins when they're 37, 38.
But you said what you said. I didn't want to hear if he believes what you're talking. I think the goal is just to not look like you in the Houston Rockets uniform.
Yeah.
All right. What was your reaction to that interaction between Draymond and Chuck?
It's my whole Chuck is right. That's the first part of this. It ends for everybody. And he doesn't mean this in a disrespectful way.
No.
He's just like, look, man, you guys aren't title contenders anymore. The dream is dead. You had a phenomenal run, and it's over. And then when you heard Draymond expand on that, one, he took it way too he was way too sensitive about it. You got to laugh at yourself, and he just went right at Chuck. It's like, listen, Chuck, at the end of his career, is putting up numbers that were better than Draymond's ever put up, even in his peak days.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. It's like he's just wrong to make Chuck sound like a clown show. He was still a good player at the very, very end, and arguably even better than Draymond ever has been in the NBA. But the other part of this is you had Draymond start to say, once you win a championship, that's all that you're focused on is winning another championship. And so he started to walk down the road of that's where our mindset is. But he knows that sounds silly because that's not where they're at right now with Jimmy Butler banged up and the situation being what it is. So he then shifted it, and he's like, well, success can mean various things. It's like we led the league in ticket sales. We had the most nationally televised games. Maybe, and then he shifted it to maybe we laid the groundwork for the next regime to build on what we've laid down, and then they can compete for a championship. So he starts off like, our goal is always to win a championship, and then he quickly shifted to, well, success can mean the most ticket sales, the most nationally televised games, and then just laying the groundwork for the next, iteration of the Warriors to take it from there. It's just a player who is proud of what he's accomplished, and he should be, and he can't say it. I understand you've got to be unrealistic as an athlete a lot of times, Chad, where you have to believe what's really not believable. You have to believe that even though you're completely outmanned, you can win this game. You can win this series. You have to believe that. So I give Draymond a little bit of slack, but deep down he knows they don't have the horses to win a title. They have no shot, but he can't come to grips with saying that himself.
No,
and it hurts for someone else to say it for him.
And as Draymond makes this transition into television, he's going to have to learn the same thing that you and I did in radio, Brian, where you have to learn to be self-deprecating, and you've got to laugh at yourself. For example, this is how you handle it if you're Draymond. If you have a free throw shooting contest and you talk mad trash and then you go out and shoot 49%,
That's right.
What do? You don't take it personal. You get shirts made with 49 on it and laugh about it on television like you did. That was the perfect way to deal with that situation. Seriously.
Man, you have to be able to do that.
Yes.
Because you're not going to last. You're not going to make it if you can't.
No.
If you take yourself so seriously that you can't laugh at yourself. And that's the bigger picture, Chad, is that's one of the main reasons Charles Barkley is so successful at television is he makes fun of himself all the time.
Constantly.
How often does Shaq you never won a title? What if Barkley took the bait every time and was like, oh, and just, got personal and threw a cheap shot back? And that's just not fun television. He laughs at himself. And it's like, that's a lesson that Draymond Green has to learn if he wants to be anywhere near Charles Barkley in TV.
I agree. And the other thing, too, that you realize, or I'm sure that some of these guys have realized, whether you're watching John Madden or Charles Barkley, everyone thinks, I can do that. And then you get in that chair and you're like, oh, it's a lot more difficult to beat Chuck or John Madden than I thought because those guys are unique. Charles Barkley is one of the very best to do what he's done. He's awesome.
Oh, he's so spectacular. And I think that Charles never gets enough credit for being as smart as he is.
I agree.
Right? It's one thing to crack a joke and talk about the women in San Antonio and we always just laugh at what Chuck is doing or saying in a fun way. He's entertaining. He's hilarious. But he brings real basketball insight to the table far more often than he's ever given credit for. And his true brilliance is just laughing at himself. There are a lot of people that have never figured that out, how well it works. And he figured that out a long time ago.
I agree. Let's go out to the phones. We got someone that wants to ask a question. Let's grab Ari. Hey, Ari, I appreciate the phone call. You're on with Chad Doing and Brian Noe. What's on your mind?
What's up, you guys? Enjoying this sunny Portland afternoon.
It's nice.
I just wanted to, comment about this Rossini situation. To be honest, I haven't followed it a lick. I really couldn't care less, especially about anything really happening in the New England Patriots organization, which just seems a little bit rotten to me. But I got two things. I mean, one is, I guess I don't quite understand why this is a, compromised career situation. I mean, this woman is not reporting on the White House for the New York Times. Like, she's a sports reporter, and, all the credit to you guys, y'all do a great job, but like, we're talking about sports here. This isn't like top secret classified information. So I guess to me, if she, wrote a report on a team tomorrow, I would have no reason to believe it or not believe it. In fact, if anything, it seems like she's kind of going the extra mile to get her scoop. But my other thing that I just want to say is, I guess my question was like, maybe I'm missing part of this story, but if you could explain to me why her career is compromised, I guess it just feels like this assumption we're making. And that brings me to my second point, which is that I really actually do think this is a gendered thing. I mean, everybody's sitting here saying, this says more about Vrabel and the character of who he is, and yet he's going to be coaching day one, and this woman's career is over. I honestly think that if this had been a male reporter having a relationship with Becky Hammon, we'd be talking about her career being over, and he'd be reassigned to the next team down the street. So I'll let you get from there.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for the phone call, Ari. Do you want to take a crack at it, Brian, or do you want me to start?
I got a couple of comments.
Okay.
The first comment is, if she is employed by the Ari Times, that's one thing. Maybe you don't care. Maybe your company doesn't care that she's going the extra mile, as Ari put it right there, to get the next scoop. But she's not. She's employed by The Athletic, which is owned by the New York Times. Okay? Yes. They are a reputable news source. They button the top button. They want to have journalistic integrity. They're serious about dotting I's, crossing T's. This is not anything they want to be affiliated with, and they will not tolerate that. And so if her deal is up this summer, there's no way they're even thinking about extending her. So that's the first part of this is, who is her employer, and what do they stand for, and what do they want to be represented by with the employees that they have under their umbrella? That's what it all boils down to. So you might not have a problem with it. Maybe if you own a company, your company doesn't have a problem with it. But I'll tell you this, the New York Times has a major problem with it, and that's all that really matters because they're writing the checks.
Exactly. And also, if Diana Rossini was a sports and entertainment host like you and I, where she's not an insider relying on those sources to be able to put out, stories, then it may not be an issue for her, and she'd probably still be able to remain employed. But when your job as an NFL insider is to get stories and details on different teams around the league, if you're sleeping with some of those sources, it compromises you. Her role as an insider is different than another role in the sports media. Like if she were a studio host or if she was a radio host like Brian and I, it's a different role than an NFL insider. It's just,
Right. Yeah, I remember, when I worked in Portland, there was one of the clauses in my contract with NBC Sports Northwest. So I was employed by the TV side. Chad, you're employed by the radio side, right?
Yes.
But the thing by NBC Sports Northwest, one of the clauses was, we can basically fire you if one of your relatives posts something that doesn't reflect well on NBC Sports Northwest. I'm like, what?
Oh, my goodness.
What if I don't know, like my uncle just is unhinged and has this political tirade that they don't agree with. I get canned for that? Like, what is that? So that's the whole thing. Sometimes employers, they are very specific about how you represent them. And so that's all that really matters in this Rossini thing is she is employed by the New York Times, and they don't want to be represented or they don't want to be looked at in this way whatsoever. Like their journalists are hooking up with people to get the scoop. They don't want that at all.
And fortunately for Vrabel, his boss, his owner, is someone that was caught on film at a rub and tug. That's got to help him in that situation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it gives him a little bit of leverage here.
Yeah, because Kraft would probably be a little more understanding to Vrabel than a family-run business or a different owner would, right? I mean, it varies,
right?
Team
Or at
to
least
team.
Kraft would look silly for firing Vrabel when
we
he
can't
has,
have that on the team. Yeah,
right. When he has what you mentioned on his resume, that would seem kind of odd.
Yes, yeah, it's funny. All right, hey Bino. I want to bring you back. So we got to show some clock integrity. So are you good to hang for a few more minutes?
Totally good to hang.
Yeah, Bino.
Absolutely, yes.
Bino, Fox Sports Radio. More with him when we come back on the Rip City Drive. All right, Brian Bino, Fox Sports Radio is with us. And, Brian, I wanted your take coming out of the draft. What are your thoughts? Who did you think was the big winner on draft night?
Well, the first night, I liked what the Cowboys did. On one hand, when you get a safety, and Caleb Downs, one of the best players, I think, in this draft, and they sorely needed safety help. So I liked what they did. But, man, when you make a trade with a divisional rival to give the Eagles Mekhi Lemon, who knows? This guy could be a big deal. He's going to help replace A.J. Brown. You got to cover him twice a year. I don't love trading with your division rival. I don't love that. I liked what the Jets did. They got 3 good players in the first round, and so they start to build that thing back up. I was a little confused with a few teams. I don't know what the Rams were doing, drafting Ty Simpson 13th overall. I don't know if that guy's going to pan out in the NFL at all. But if you're going to draft him, trade down, lower in the first round, trade up and get him lower in the first round. But I don't like what they did, getting him where they got him. And as much as I love the Ohio State receiver, Carnell Tate, for him to go number 4 overall, it's not that I hate it. It's like, man, I don't know if you're going to give him a playmaker to Cam Ward, so I certainly get that. But I was just surprised that the Titans, and this might end up being the right pick, but I was surprised. We talked about this, where I thought a team would just be seduced by the upside of Jordan Tyson and go with the big playmaking capability, but they were like, yeah, maybe a little bit too many injuries. We're going to go with Carnell Tate, a little more steady, higher floor most likely. So we're going to go with him to build around Cam Ward. I thought that was an interesting pick.
Yeah, and I've told you this before. Like, I'm not an NFL scout, but I do know players I've watched a lot in college that I like. Mekhi Lemon's one of those guys where I watched him. Like, he's a playmaker, man. He's got strong hands. He's got the ability to catch the football in traffic. Like, what I saw from him on the college level, I liked. So if the Eagles want him, that must mean he's pretty good.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the thing. And I thought on draft night, I'm like, well, the Cowboys got a couple of, I think, 4th rounders. They traded a couple of 5th rounders to get Caleb Downs. And so they recouped a couple of 4th rounders to make that trade with the Eagles. And I'm like, all right, you recoup some of the, day 3 picks. And who knows? Maybe he would have been, maybe he would have, the Eagles would have traded with the team at 21 and gotten him at 21. And then the Cowboys just didn't get, those 2 4th-round picks. And meanwhile, you find out, no, the Steelers at 21 were on the phone with Mekhi Lemon, like, yo, we're going to pick you right here. And then the Eagles called and were like, hey, hang up on the Steelers. We're trading up to get you. So forget about that whole Steelers thing. You're going to be an Eagle. That was a wild story, man. I love that.
Yeah, no question about that. What's your process for when the schedule drops? How do you like to digest it?
Oh, man, I love it. It's like a strip tease now. The first day they show you a little, they show you an ankle, like maybe the left ankle, and they just progressively, it's like Major League. Remember when they would win a game and they would remove on the cardboard cutout, they'd remove a little bit of clothing for each win they had. That's kind of like the NFL schedule right now. It's they give you like a little taste and all right, the first game of the year, Seahawks are facing whoever they're facing, and then that's all you get. And then you get a little bit more. I think it's fun. I think it's cool how they do it. The only thing I dislike, Chad, happens every single year, the win-loss breakdown. I can't tell you how much I hate it. You'll hear it on shows. I pray you're not one of these ridiculous people who do the same thing. They get a schedule, and it's like, all right, week 7, Broncos at Chiefs, win. I'm going to go win. Week 8, they're on the road against win. It's like you have no idea who's hurt. What's the scenario? Has this team just lost a painful game? Do they have a huge emotional win? Are they down their left tackle? Like, what's the other team? I hate the whole win-loss thing when you just get the schedule. But it'll happen. Happens like clockwork every single year. It's the only thing I don't like about the schedule being released.
Yeah, what I like to do, what I do with the Broncos is I look at, the quarters. Like, what are the most difficult stretches?
Yeah.
Because you're going to have those, situations we may have 3 road games in a month, right? Those difficult stretches or division games or back-to-back division games or those key moments where those games are going to be critical. And so I look at that. But you're right, especially when injuries happen, right? So What if Bo Nix breaks his ankle again? Then all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter what my projection was before the year began, obviously.
I know it. Yeah, that win that you were like, oh, gosh, that's absolutely a win against the Raiders. It's like, well, yeah, you're down your starting quarterback, your left tackle, and your starting cornerback. Kind of changes the math right there.
Oh, my goodness. Bino, Fox Sports Radio. Brian, I appreciate you, my friend. I love talking ball with you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night and have a great weekend.
Man, time flies hanging with you, Chad Dewing. Always a pleasure, man. Hope you enjoy the night and the weekend, buddy. Catch you soon.
All right, you got it. There's Bino, Fox Sports Radio. You got to love him. Update, first half, Pistons on top of the Cavs, 36-29. We got the Lakers and Thunder coming up at 6:30. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. We start with the NBA scoreboard. First half in Detroit, the Pistons have a 39-31 lead on the Cavaliers. Detroit with a 1-game-to-none lead in that series. And coming up at 6:30 on Prime Video, the Lakers in Oklahoma City to meet the Thunder. OKC favored by 15.5, and they're up 1-game-to-none after taking game number 1. Checking the Major League scoreboard for you. Games that have gone final today. Pirates over the Diamondbacks 4-2. Rockies 6, Mets 2. Cubs 8, Reds 3. Guardians over the Royals 8-5. Nationals 7, Twins 5. Yankees rout the Rangers in New York 9-2. Top of the 5th in Philadelphia, Athletics 8, Phillies 1. And the Marlins lead the Orioles 3-2. Top of the 5th in Miami. Middle of the 3rd in Boston. The Rays and Red Sox are tied up at 3. All right, this is some peak Van Halen right here. Hey, Shacker, did you ever see Van Halen in their prime with Hagar?
No, but I did see Sammy Hagar a couple summers ago, and he played this song.
Now, was that when Joe Satriani was with him and he was playing all of Eddie Van Halen's parts?
Yep, and they had Michael Anthony doing the backup singing and bass.
I saw some of that on Howard Stern. Like, it sounded good. How was it in concert?
Oh, it was excellent. And it was a Loverboy open for them. It was a great night out at Ridgefield.
That's awesome. I mean, Satriani's quite the talent. To be able to learn and perfect the Eddie Van Halen parts, that's tough.
I love Satriani. He's the one who showed Kirk Hammett of Metallica how to play guitar.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. All right, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. The two games today in the NBA, they bore me just a little bit. Pistons Cavs is okay. Lakers Thunder, not so good. And those are the two games today. They're both on Prime Video. Right now, the Pistons up by 9, 45-36. The Cavaliers still looking for their first road win in the postseason. And the Lakers and Thunder, I mean, the Lakers, they don't have Luka. Like, if they had Luka, they would have, you know, some type of an opportunity to make it a series. But without his scoring, where are they going to get the points from against that defense? And the Thunder, it's really frustrating to play against them because they get away with a lot on the defensive end and their physicality. And then you've got to deal with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the way he's able to hunt fouls. And after talking to Keith Smith yesterday, like, we want to pretend like it's different, but this kind of crap's been going on in the league for years. It was no different back in the day when, you know, Bird, Magic, Michael, Kobe, all the greats that we love, they did the same thing. They got to the foul line a ton. And that's because they had the respect of the officials and they knew what to do. And the star players are always going to get the benefit of the doubt. That's been going on forever, especially guys the size of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So, yeah, but the Thunder right now, they look primed to repeat as champions. And barring some type of catastrophic injury, I just don't see anyone knocking them off. They're the prohibitive favorite to win the title and go back-to-back. And for the Lakers, they just don't have enough horses. As I mentioned before in Game 1, outside of LeBron and Rui Hachimura, the rest of the crew shot 29%. It would be helpful if they could find a way to get Austin Reeves off to where he could, if he can go for 25 or 30 tonight, maybe the Lakers can be more competitive. But again, a lot of it's matchup. The length and the physicality of that Thunder defense makes it really tough to operate. So what are you going to do? We talked to Sean Highkin, Rose Garden Report. He does not have a timeline on when the Blazers will, finish up their coaching search and identify a coach. There's really no pressure in terms of time for the Blazers to get it done by a certain date because they have no draft picks in the upcoming NBA draft. So they're probably not as pressed to get a coach in place as they would be otherwise. So they can take their time and interview as many candidates as they want. And as I mentioned before, I know a lot of reports are out there about Tom Dundon. What I care most about is, or at least what I think is the most important is, for the Blazers to just locate the right guy. If it's Tiago Splitter, hire him. If it's somebody else who's an upgrade, then hire that guy. Whoever you think is the best person, best suited to be able to run and coach the team, then make the choice. What I don't want is hiring a guy because he'll cost you a few dollars less than a more qualified or more experienced candidate. And based on some of the reporting, that's what it would lead you to believe, that the decision-making would strictly be off finances. Now, Joe Cronin refuted that point at the exit interviews, that certain coaches, based on their experience, will cost more. But he said that the dollar amount is irrelevant when it comes to if they locate the coach, the right coach they want to hire, then they'll offer him a dollar figure that matches his experience level, his track record. And obviously, if you have no experience or you're just getting started, you're not going to cost as much as someone like, Michael Malone. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. The biggest question I'm getting right now is what the Blazers are going to do with their roster. Are they going to go big game hunting or not? I don't know. I think they're going to look at opportunities. So do I think they're going to be aggressive? They're going to try. Yeah, I do believe that. But, of course, when you're talking about bringing in a big fish, you've got to have willing partners. And it's going to require some negotiating, and it's going to be a process to get through that. But this will be an exciting offseason. We got a new owner, new direction at the top. They've got to hire a coach, and now they've got the tools to be able to go out and really improve the roster, which is great. That's exciting. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620. You can reach out to me. Anything you want to talk about is fine. Had a chance to get out and play some golf this morning. This week has really begun my golf season. Weather's been spectacular. And looking forward to the rest of the week. And the weather, man, it's been great. But early in May, we're getting a lot of sunshine. And if you look at the extended forecast, it is looking pretty good. I don't see rain in the forecast until Saturday the 16th. And then after that, we're having nothing but temperatures in the 70s and either partly cloudy skies or partly sunny skies. And the only day over the next 10-plus days with potential rain would be the 16th, which is a Saturday. There's not rain in the forecast over the next several days up except for that one day, which is awesome. So basically between now and the 21st, there's only one day with scheduled rain right now in the extended forecast. So we're getting early summertime, which is really nice. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting some golf in. And the NBA playoffs, we'll watch. The two series I care most about right now, Minnesota and San Antonio. That'll resume tomorrow in Minneapolis with Game 3. I like the way the Wolves play. I like their attitude, their toughness, their defense. And Anthony Edwards is one of my favorite players in the league to watch. I like his bravado. I can't believe he came back and played in Game 1 after that knee injury that looked gruesome. but he was incredibly tough. It's kind of cool to see him be there for his teammates like that. Julius Randle, and then, of course, Jay McDaniels, who great defender, great 3-and-D, but a guy that's willing to talk the talk and walk the walk. San Antonio, I thought their response in Game 2 was nice. You know, we're watching a team with no playoff experience, so I'm always curious to see how they're going to respond game to game in a highly contested series like this one. But that was a good response. They got a dominant win in Game number 2, and now they're favored to get the win in Game 3 tomorrow night. The other series, of course, New York and Philadelphia. I just hope that the Sixers can mount some type of resistance as they go back home and get ready for Game 3 tomorrow. But the problem is Joel Embiid's status. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Do they have to develop two different game plans? How difficult will that be on Nick Nurse and his crew? And it's a major disadvantage when you don't know game to game what the availability of Joel Embiid is going to be. And again, this is why if I'm looking at players that I want to bring in or guys that I want to attract or, big name guys I'd like to see in a Trailblazer uniform, availability is right up near the top in terms of priorities. You want a guy that's going to be there, who's available, that doesn't take multiple nights off, and someone that is proven to be durable. Durability, availability, so important in sports because you got to be there for your guys. And right now, Embiid being out is, it's a major detriment because of all the things he can do. He can get the Knicks bigs in foul trouble. He's a consistent, low post threat. He's getting better at passing out of the double team so he can find open shooters. I did think Philadelphia played really well with the small lineup last night. I just think they got gassed in that fourth quarter because they played an up-tempo. They were playing fast, like boom, 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 like really fast. And they played well. It's just I think they ran out of gas. And the Knicks were able to, really nut up at the end of that game. And Jalen Brunson with some big plays. They're getting great play from Cat. That's a team that plays like the Timberwolves, a lot of togetherness there in the way that they commit. But they're locked in and connected on both ends of the floor. So the Knicks, if we get a Knicks-Pistons Eastern Conference Final, that would be pretty solid. And if we get Spurs, Thunder, Pistons, Knicks, like that, those are two very good conference finals that would be compelling. That's very watchable basketball. And as Brian Noah and I were talking about, the NFL schedule is going to drop next week. And we'll get the complete schedule for all the teams. We'll know when the games are going to be played. And then that will start to whet our appetite for the upcoming football season. 3.4 seconds to go first half in Detroit. The Pistons have a 54-41 lead. They're up by 13. And they were a 3 to 3.5 point favorite going into the game. All right, we'll keep things rolling. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. You got the All right, Shacker, you'll be happy to know all set for Thursday. I think that's the 21st, so I'm going on open. So I am all set for Thursday. I think that's the 21st, so I'm going on opening night. I'm not going to wait until Friday or the weekend. I'm going to catch it on Thursday.
Yeah, I looked at some times. When they were releasing Star Wars movies, I noticed Friday morning there'd be like 6 a.m. showings or 5 a.m. showings. Those don't exist this time around for this Star Wars movie.
I think the movie's going to be sensational. I've done a deep dive on all facets of Mandalorian, and I think it's going to be really good. Now, a couple of the trailers they released earlier did not help much in terms of being able to tell what the movie is going to be like, but I think this is a no-brainer.
Well, this movie, Mandalorian, they blew it with their Super Bowl ad.
That's the part. That ad was terrible. I don't even know why they were doing that. That was a bad idea.
They were getting cocky. They thought people would go see this movie no matter what. But at that time, at the beginning of this year, I wanted to see clips of this movie to get excited for it.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for it at the moment.
No. But the good thing is I'll see it before you, and then I'll be able to give you the thumbs up or thumbs down.
Be like, Boba Fett showed up 15 minutes in. Or what?
But if I give the nod and say it's awesome, then you'll go see it in the theater, right?
Possibly. I have also looked at showtimes. I haven't pulled the trigger and bought tickets. Because it's one of those movies where it's being advertised as must be seen on IMAX. And I'm taking that to heart because I only have, what's my TV, 75 inches? That doesn't compare to an IMAX. So I might be like you. I might have to see it as soon as it comes out.
Most movies I can wait and just be patient until it comes out and I just watch it at home. But then there's some movies that I can't wait.
Yeah, because I don't have a sound system at home. I use my TV speakers. And so that sound is part of a movie.
Oh, well, I think there are certain movies where, the sound's not a big deal. But if I'm going to go see Top Gun or Maverick, I want the best sound possible. And if you're going to go see Mandalorian, same thing. You want the best experience possible. It just adds to the movie. So I'm pretty excited.
Thursday night, does that mean midnight? You have to wait till midnight?
No, I'm going to go see it Thursday at 6:30. I'll probably end up doing the Rip City Drive from home that day. And then that way I'll be able to pop straight out to the theater after it's done.
Could we do a Rip City Drive remote at the movie theater?
That's actually not a bad idea.
The show ends.
But here's the great part. A lot of people can relate to this. And you'll remember this because you're in the same age bracket. So, back in the day, even going back to the 90s, when the prequels came out, right? See, that was before they had reserved seating at theaters. So you had to go and wait in line with your tickets, and you had to get there early to make sure you got a good seat if you're going to go see it on opening night or in the first couple of nights. But reserved seating is a game changer for movies because now I can go online, just go to Fandango. I get my tickets. I got a guaranteed seat that no one can take. I've got reserved seating, and I don't have to worry about it. The reserved seating for movies is a game changer.
I don't know. I used to show up so early. I would see the trailers before the trailers when they were just showing like TV commercials and stuff like that because I would want good seats. I love the assigned seatings, like a sporting event.
I like knowing where I'm going to sit. Now, it's probably different for you and I. We grew up going to movies, like big blockbusters that would come out in the theater. Like I remember being down in California on vacation with my buddy Jeff, and we went to go see Terminator 2 in the theater. And there was like a life-size Arnold there. Like it was amazing, right? That's what we grew up with. But kids in today's world, they don't grow up going to movies like we did. So they don't care as much. They're willing to wait until something pops out on their little tablet or whatever.
Yeah, and with the assigned seating, you can't buy tickets to a PG movie and slip into an R movie.
We used to do that all the time too. Or sometimes if the movie tickets were sold out for one movie, I would buy tickets to another movie and then I would sneak into the theater and grab a seat in the movie I wanted to see. I had to do that. What movie was that? Ace Ventura 2. Had to see that on opening night. The tickets sold out. I was like, well, I'm not going to miss it. So I bought tickets for some crap movie and then I snuck into the theater. And I watched it. It was awesome. Rocky IV is probably one of my most memorable. It was so good that me and my buddy Dayton, we sat in the theater and he's like, if we just wait here long enough, it's going to come back on. We watched it back-to-back times. That was legendary. That was really good. But I've seen all the Star Wars. Every single one, from the time I was a little kid up until now, I've seen them all in the theater, which is cool. I even saw on one of my birthdays, this is when I was still in Oklahoma, Return of the Jedi. It was like the third time I saw it, but we went to a drive-in theater. Saw it on the jumbo screen there at the drive-in.
I love that double feature. Did you get to see a late movie after that?
No, because I was younger, so my parents rolled us out after we were done. I did see I've seen double features before, though, on the big screen, like Terminator 2 and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I saw that out somewhere in Beaverton one night. Me and my buddy Jason went out there with a couple of girls. We did that. I've seen a double feature down in Newburgh at that drive-in. I forgot what the two movies. One was Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which I love. And I forgot what the other one was, the second movie. I was just there. I was so locked in on Star Trek II. Do you like Star Treks?
Yeah, but I'm more of a Star Wars fan. I mean, they've been releasing Star Trek stuff on the Paramount app. I haven't watched any of it.
I like the Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, amazing. And then the new Star Treks that have come out, I liked all those movies too. Thought they were well done.
Yeah, they haven't.
I'm
made
not
those
like a
in while.
Trekkie. I'm just saying that I do like the movies.
There were so many Star Trek rumors, but it seems like that movie franchise is over. I think Quentin Tarantino at one point was going to do a Star Trek movie, and then
I like Quentin. He'd be good at it. He's really good. Every time I like listen to. I've heard him with Rogan. Thought he was great. I've heard him on Stern. He's a really good interview. But he's done movies that I don't like either. Like what was the
Django Unchained.
What was the
Hollywood?
What was the one with Samuel L. Jackson?
Jackie Brown. Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I did not like Pulp Fiction. I know most of my friends loved it. I just thought it was just too much for me. Did you like Pulp Fiction?
I like it, but I watched it, like parts of it recently. It doesn't seem as good as it was when it was new. Like it just didn't stand up to the test of time. But when it was new, it was like amazing. Maybe because I've seen so many films that copied it since that I don't find it as good as it used to be.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up as much.
But it's probably because it was such a good movie. A lot of people have copied it since then.
So I'm excited. So I got tickets. I will give you the review. I'm just going to tell you simply, you need to see it. If I tell you you've got to go see it, that means it's really good. If I tell you that you can probably wait, no need to rush, then that means it wasn't good. But you know me, like if it's great, I'm like, dude, go see it. And I'll be mad at you if you don't go because I know you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, you did that last summer. You gave me the heads up that the Naked Gun reboot is just wait.
It was garbage. I'm still mad about that movie because I went out to the beach and stayed a couple of nights with my daughter. And we're out in Lincoln City, and we drove down to Newport because they had a movie theater down there. And so they had Superman, and we had already seen that, but I wanted to see it again. And then we couldn't decide what to see, so we decided to flip a coin, and we came up with Naked Gun. And so I was excited because I do like the franchise with Leslie Nielsen, but I was very suspect. I'm like, dude, trying to be Leslie Nielsen is really tough. I went to see it. It sucked. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I loved it. Pamela Anderson, the stuffed beaver, had a cameo in that movie. I was so glad to see the beaver come back.
Nice beaver.
For callback.
I thought she was good. Like Pamela Anderson delivered, but I did not like it. I'm such a fan of Leslie Nielsen is so unique in his abilities and what he does that it's very hard to recreate that. I think there are certain films or certain shows without. It's like when they did that Magnum PI reboot. It's like, wait, no Tom Selleck? You know, there's certain characters that are so iconic that it's really hard for me to wrap my mind around somebody else being that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
You don't care.
I'm just glad that anything's being made. If it's a reboot, remake, sequel, and I've missed Mandalorian. It hasn't been on TV for 5 years now?
I know. It's been too long. Yeah, it's really good. This will be good. If the movie's great, then that's going to be a good thing because that means we'll get more Mandalorian and Grogu content, which is a good thing. Now, of course, you and I are both big fans of Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai was phenomenal. I enjoyed every season of that. I thought it was all great. And then right after the series was complete, we got Karate Kid Legends, which was a great movie with Ralph and Jackie Chan. Like Cobra Kai, it shouldn't work in so many ways, but yet it was perfect. And I thought the final season with the ending and the way that they did it was great. I know you loved it too, right? You were
I
totally
loved
down.
every moment of Cobra Kai. That was the few times I would stay up till midnight and wait for Netflix to drop the episodes. I never stay awake till midnight. I'm always asleep at night.
Yeah, because remember, it started out on like a YouTube Red. and then it transitioned to Netflix. That was so good. That was well done.
What happened to YouTube Red?
It's now YouTube Premium, and they keep raising the prices on it too. They send out a notification they're going to raise the price, and they regret doing it, but they're going to do it anyways. I don't like those messages either. They're going to come a point it's going to reach a price at some point in the future where I'm going to be like, I'm out. It's one of my favorite things that I have every month. Whatever it is now, it's like $15. I can watch all the YouTube videos I want with no commercials. It truly is genius. And everyone I've encouraged to get it and who has gotten it says it's truly awesome. And then you get access to YouTube Music. But what's best about it is that, if you're like watching a video on your phone, or if I'm running stuff through listening to music and running through my Bluetooth, when the screen goes black, the video doesn't stop. And you never get a commercial. It's the best.
Well, I'm hoping for more merging because I think Paramount and the HBO app, they're going to become one company. So I guess YouTube needs to gobble up one of these other apps that you're into. And then you're paying extra, but you're getting double the content.
Well, the great thing about the YouTube platform, too, is that it runs so smooth. So, YouTube, when I found out they were getting the NFL ticket, very happy about that because I knew that it would be a flawless transition.
Yeah, they did a great job. They aired one of the regular season games, like the first Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a perfect job.
Was that game, was that Kansas City and the Chargers?
Yeah, out of the country.
Yeah. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, YouTube's great. The product itself, the platform, very user-friendly. And then it's got the algorithms, so it just continues. They get you stuck in a mode where you just watch a billion videos because the algorithms continue to suggest videos that you like. So every time I look at my feed, I'm just like, I need to watch that, that, and that. And before you know it, 4 hours of your life down the drain because you've been watching videos, crushing them.
Well, you've been talking about the NFL schedule like today and a little bit yesterday, so you're getting me all fired up. And I saw something on the internet. The Niners are going to play in Australia.
They are?
Yeah.
I know the NFL's playing in Australia, but do you know who they're playing? Who are they rumored to play in Australia?
I'm worried I'm worried it's fake news because, I see stuff on other people's feeds that I never know if they're giving facts.
I've never been to Australia. Have you been there?
Nope. That'd be a long flight to get there.
That'd be a long flight for a football game. But that'd be a good experience, though. Fly to Australia to watch the Niners play.
Yeah, tap into that market.
Do you think your Niners can make it through the season without being battered by injuries this year?
I hope they got it figured out. They've been becoming a regular appearing in the playoffs regularly now. I'd like to see them take it to the next level.
I just felt bad for them because they were so battered by the time they got that game against the Seahawks. They had no chance.
That was no fun.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Seattle.
And then Bo Nix hurts his ankle after one of the greatest games I've ever witnessed in my life. And then they go into the AFC title game against New England without their quarterback. That sucked. That was really bad. I'll never forget that. I got to Moda Center early and got everything set up for Chris before the Blazer game because I wanted to watch the rest of the Bills-Broncos game in private because I was so nervous. And the game was so amazing. The Broncos got the win in overtime. And as soon as the game was over, I'm walking around Moda on cloud nine. And I'm like, there is nothing anyone could say. There's nothing anyone could do to ruin my night. But there was. Getting news an hour after that game that Bo Nix, broken ankle, done for the year, would not participate in the AFC title game. And hearing Sean Payton say that was like, what in the world's going on here? Broke his ankle? You kidding me? That was bad. Not a good experience. Coming off of one of the greatest games I've ever seen. I mean, that Bills-Broncos game was an all-timer. I hate sports injuries. They're really annoying. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Shacker's a big San Francisco fan. Giants, 49ers. Who else? Who are your teams? So you like the Beavs.
Yeah.
Giants,
Love
49ers. Who else?
I now am a huge fan of the Portland Fire. Even though everyone's trying to tell me they're not going to do anything this year, I'm like, what, are you a WNBA expert now? I mean, come on. Let the season start before I have a real opinion on this expansion team. I'm looking forward to the Pac-12 getting back together. I'm going to love everything about that conference.
Yeah. Do you, have you had a chance to hear from this new Beavers head coach?
Just on his, the day they announced that he had his press conference.
You get a chance to work with Mike Parker all the time, which is cool.
Yeah, he's the one who's clued in. He's going to the practices and knows exactly what's going on. I won't know what's going on until the season starts.
That's right. He gets to attend practice. That's pretty sweet. Have you ever worked the Joe Beaver show with Mike Parker?
No. I just listen to the podcast of that show every now and again.
All right. We shall see. All right, let's check the scoreboard. Third quarter in Detroit, Pistons on top of the Cavs, 56-49. Jenkins with 11, Donovan Mitchell with 15. And then we got the Lakers and Thunder coming up at 6:30. Both these games are on Prime Video. And then tomorrow, 2 games at 4, Knicks at the Sixers. That's going to be on Prime Video. And the nightcapper tomorrow also on Prime Video. 6:30 Spurs at Timberwolves. Philadelphia favored by 1.5. San Antonio favored by 4.5. Anxious to see what the Timberwolves are going to be able to do at home. Can they find enough shot making to be able to keep pace with San Antonio? And you know one thing, that's going to be physical. The one thing I'll say about the Timberwolves through 2 games, they've been the more aggressive physical basketball team. And that's going to be, that's tough. For a young team like the Spurs, the Timberwolves are just a problem. And they're going to have to take it step by step to try and solve that. Minnesota's no joke. And they've got experience. And they've been there and they've done that in the postseason. So a worthy opponent for the young San Antonio Spurs and Victor Wembanyama. How many blocks is he going to have tomorrow night? 15? Can he reach 20 in an NBA playoff game? He's so good. Ridiculous. I like watching Wemby play. He just like Ant Edwards coming back from that knee injury. I thought Victor Wembanyama showed toughness in the way he came back so quickly from the concussion. And he was ticked off that the NBA didn't let him play in that Game 3 on Friday back here in Portland. He had cleared protocol, but the NBA held him out for another game, and he couldn't come back until Game 4. But I like it when you get star players like that showing toughness and wanting to come back. Anthony Edwards making that appearance in Game 1 was pretty manly. Because that the way he came down on the one leg and hyperextended his knee against Denver, that was scary. I can't believe he didn't rip up his knee. But Edwards he's a special type of competitor. Tough, willing to engage on both ends. I just like the way he goes about his business. Very aggressive, very tough. Wow. All right, Pistons on top by 6. Lakers and Thunder. Man, I just wish that Luka was playing right now. I don't think he's going to come back in this series. Or at least that's what it's looking like. And at some point, if the Thunder if they're up 2-0, 3-0, what's the point of bringing him back? If he's healthy and 100%, then yes, you do it. But if he's compromised or not quite 100%, is it worth it in a series that's going to end quickly in 4 or 5 games? I just don't think the Lakers are going to have enough, even when they go back home, to be able to even up that series. Might be able to get a game. But the Thunder right now, and that's what I thought they were doing throughout the year. They didn't, make a run at 70 wins. They kind of coasted through the regular season. I think what happens when you win a championship and you know what it takes to get over the hump, you're not going to kill yourself in the regular season. It's like, okay, let's pace ourselves, conserve our energy, try to be as healthy as possible, and when the playoffs hit, we'll crank it up. And that's what the Thunder have done. All right, Rip City Drive on a Thursday. I appreciate your time. We got Hops Baseball coming up. I'll be back tomorrow at 3. And then Justin Ballinger, sportsbook manager at Spirit Mountain Casino, going to join the show tomorrow at 3:20. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Knowledge. Yeah, Sting is one of those guys I'd like to be for a day. His songwriting's a bit over my head. He's so good.
Got any more singing in you?
No, not right now. But this is a song I would like to sing. I listen to Sting all the time. And Synchronicity was phenomenal. Shine, sweet freedom, shine your light on me. That's my Michael McDonald right there.
Yeah, I need to start a Sting file.
It actually didn't sound as bad as I thought it would have. Those are things I try not to hear back when I have those moments of spontaneity and sing on air. But certain songs just make you want to do that. Have you ever seen the Police in concert?
No, just Sting. Like the Sammy Hagar thing. I don't see him at their peak. See them when they do their reunion tours.
Yeah, where did I see? I've seen Sting once. Oh, Boz Scaggs is coming to the Schnitz, I think in September. The captain, Rich Patterson, pointed that out to me last night.
All right. Got a nice show in before preseason.
Okay, he's good. I've seen him once. I saw him at the Schnitz several years ago, probably about 12 years ago. I got to interview him, too, to promote the concert. He was awesome. He was great in concert. I love Boz Scaggs, a ridiculous talent. I saw Sting at the Schnitz, too. But the problem is, I didn't read the fine print, and it was Sting. He was backed by an orchestra. And so it's one of those things where, like, you get Sting, but not the Sting that you want. He was still fabulous, but I don't want an orchestra behind Sting. I know he liked it, but it's like, come on, man. I needed, like, drums and a guitar, and Sting being Sting, but that's not the case. He did a tour with an orchestra behind him. So it wasn't exactly what I was hoping for. He was still great, but it's like, it's like I don't want to see a band unplugged. Like that's not my thing. I'm not into acoustic stuff. Like the Eagles, when I saw them in their first the Hell Freezes Over tour, like there was a set. They did a few songs acoustic style because they were playing off of the Hell Freezes Over album where they did some acoustic songs in their comeback concert on MTV. So I understood that, but I don't need a whole concert like that. But Sting behind it with an orchestra behind him, it was okay. And the Schnitz is a good concert hall, like it's good, with sound and everything. But I just wish it would have been a little bit different. But there are a few bands like that. The Police, wish I could have seen them, didn't. That was a fail. I was too young, so I never got to see the Bee Gees when they're in their heyday. I wish I could have seen that, but didn't. That's a fail. There are a few of those acts.
You ever seen Leonard Skinner?
No.
Yeah, you've only had 100 chances to see them, and now they're done.
I've seen Billy Joel, but never saw Elton John. Fail. So I've had a few fails on my part. It's very unfortunate.
That's why God invented YouTube. You'll never miss anything.
Yeah, YouTube, you can pull up just about anything. Now, Chris Cohn has chimed in. He said, I thought the Hawaii Five-0 reboot was pretty epic. And I would agree. The Hawaii Five-0 reboot, very good. Also, the MacGyver reboot was very good. Now, who was the name of the guy in the
Full House reboot was awesome.
The what?
Full House. When they went Fuller House.
I did watch some of that. I did not hate it. Now, who is it? What's the name of the guy? Why can't I remember that? Who was the main guy from... He was in Dr. No, and he was the main guy from Hawaii Five-0. Do you remember his name?
I never watched Hawaii Five-0 or the reboot. That's like 20 years of TV I passed on.
Dang it. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Jack Lord. Jack Lord. He was in the original. And he was also in Dr. No. I'm a big James Bond fan. But, yeah, the Hawaii Five-0 reboot was pretty good. And what other reboots did you like, Shaq? Obviously, we liked the Cobra Kai reboot of Karate Kid. That was very nice.
I liked it when they rebooted Turner and Hooch on Disney app. They didn't renew it after one season. That was a good reboot.
Was it good?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it.
Yeah, the Tom Hanks character passed on, so it was about his kid who brought in a hooch.
I had no idea. Do you watch a lot of the Disney app? Now with Disney, you can access everything there. Sometimes I'll go to the Disney app for, you can get your Star Wars stuff there, all the ESPN stuff. So when I want to watch like one of the 30 for 30s, they're all on there on the Disney app.
Yeah, so I say Disney app, but that's where I go to watch ESPN. So, I mean, that's basically the first app I go to, and I see what's on. See, like, is there NBA, college baseball?
What are the combos now? It's like Disney, Hulu, and ESPN. It's like a combo app now.
Yes, yeah. All three in one app.
Yeah, so I like pulling up those. Like, some of those 30 for 30s are so good, I want to watch them again. Like the Catholics versus convicts. The Notre Dame Miami one's one of my favorites. We All Hate Christian Laettner was one of my favorites. I watched that a few times. Some of those are really good.
Is that the most popular one? And so I always see the thumbnail for that. So I'm wondering if a lot of people are clicking on that.
Yeah, I think that one's a pretty popular one. I don't know. I'm not sure which one is the most popular. I thought the ones on the Miami Hurricanes was pretty good. Let me just ask Rabbi Google. 30 for 30. Oh, OJ Made in America, The Last Dance, Survive in Advance. That was really good. I'll have to look over the rankings there. All right, big thanks to Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, and Sean Heiken, our Trailblazer Insider from Rose Garden Report. Big thanks to Michael Shacker for engineering the program.